The research list was really eye-opening. I think, if you asked us to sit down, which in fact you did, to sit down and list all the companies we would expect to see in the list, the research list was so much wider and went into so many industries that hadn't even crossed our minds would have an interest in acquiring somebody within our industry. So it was quite mind-blowing to see that list come through.
There were people who might have been brought to the table who perhaps didn't understand the nature of the business, and because ours was very specific, I think that we were brought people that we would never have dreamt of. They were different, as was our business, and it was a perfect match in the end.
Some of the ones that came up in the first list of notified companies was amazing, people we hadn't thought of. We ended up with a short list of 4, and we had 4 good offers from 4 good companies.
Yeah, we were quite blinkered, thinking that we're going to sell to a like-minded company. And we took those blinkers off and looked at companies that might see our business as an additional line of business in themselves to complement what they were doing.
They weren't known to me beforehand. They weren't in our industry at all. They were an acquisitive business that were after software businesses in vertical markets. And we spent a lot of time sort of explaining the business to them and for them to get their head around that business, which we eventually did, and they saw the value and we did a deal.
A lot of research, very clever research, mated to what our requirements were, mated to what we deliver in the marketplace, and put us in front of a lot of suitors, and we ended up with a short list of a lot of great potential suitors. And it came down to 3 very hot prospects at the end who were interested in us and vice versa.
I was bowled over by the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, the depth of market intelligence that you've acquired on a whole range of different industries. I really didn't appreciate how much work goes on behind the scenes and how much data you collect to source potential bidders. So we did a tour of your research facility, and you can show a few pretty photographs. That doesn't tell you anything. It's when you come to your facility here in Kingsclere you realise just what a big operation you've built up. What an impressive operation you've built up. I can honestly say, Dave, I thought you would identify something like 20 to 25. And we were absolutely bowled over when we realised there were 157 or 159 that you had identified as potential buyers for our business. That was just a staggering number that was a big surprise to us.
Always look for a buyer outside the obvious. When looking for a buyer, it is very, very important that you make a concerted effort to think laterally. You need to make a deliberate effort to think beyond the obvious. I've said previously that we've sold well over 1,000 companies, and between 40 and 45% of our clients were surprised at the nature of the final purchaser. We never expected to sell to somebody like that. Let me give you a few examples from the BCMS family of companies. We sold a hairbrush company to a paintbrush company. Well, I was a bit involved in this deal. Can you imagine our client's despair when I turned up? What could I possibly understand about hairbrushes? Well, both we and they were surprised, shocked, may I say, when they sold to a paintbrush firm. We sold a security equipment business to an electric light company, a training company to a Sage software supplier, a PC supplier to an outsourcing company. What about a catering equipment company that we sold to an agricultural equipment supplier? We could cite many, many examples. How we find these buyers we'll discuss in a research video on another occasion. The point is this: you must look well outside of your sector for your buyer, and at Kingsbrook and BCMS we excel in being able to do this. And for many listening to this, it will also be important that you look overseas for a buyer. Looking overseas for buyers has two major impacts. Firstly, overseas buyers will often pay a premium price in order to gain access to an international market. We see this quite frequently, and we could cite many examples. Secondly, an overseas buyer will influence local bidders. This is one of those rare occasions when a competitor can be induced to pay a premium price. Let us assume that a competitor looking to secure more percentage points market share here in the UK has approached us. In normal circumstances, that competitor would never pay a premium price. But what if that competitor now discovers that we are also talking to a Chinese or a German or a US competitor who've been trying to get a foothold here in the UK for the last 2, 3 or 4 years? Suddenly, in order to prevent that overseas competitor muscling in on the home market in the UK, the local competitor can be induced to pay a premium price. Again, this is one of those rare occasions when a competitor may just pay a higher price. Overseas buyers are on the rise right now, and for many it's important to look beyond the shores of this country. So the learning here is that the best buyers are not the obvious buyers. They are likely to be unknown to you. Between 60 and 65% of our clients had never ever heard of the purchaser. They did not know they existed. And it's vital for a successful deal and a high price that you look beyond the obvious.